tight ends. Real quick, we'll give you a couple tight ends to really look at.
I think it's a good tight end week. I think it's I think you can find a reason to play all these guys.
And Pitts is only 5'8",
and he's the highest price tight end. You
God.
got no Waller. There's no Kelsey.
Yeah,
Andrews is on Thursday night, so you can find her because if you play Pitts at tight end right there, you're playing a wide receiver. I'm off Detroit, but T.J. Hockenson is getting better and better. And even though they got shut out last week, he had 18 fantasy points. He caught 10 balls for 89 yards.
Another one,
you look at the targets the last 3 weeks for Hockenson, it's 11, 9, and 11, and that's the only place that they're going. And in PPR, that's all we care about.
What's your college favorite guy right now? Dan Arnold has become a very big favorite for Trevor Lawrence as a security blanket.
And I think when I first gave you Dan Arnold, because when you first hit it, you had Dan Arnold. The Jacksonville, they use their tight ends. Every tight end hits in that spot, and Dan Arnold, I got some stats on Dan Arnold. 7.5 targets the last 4 games. That's what he's averaging. And at 3.5, you can't beat that. So I like.
Oh, it's a great cheap play. Yeah. He's been getting you.
Your boy might.
He's gotten 14 points last week. Yep. 14 point 2 weeks ago. 10 points last week. They've gotten double digits 3 of the last 4 weeks. So he's worth going with.
And he's cheaper than. And we talked about Pitts, Hockenson, Dalton Schultz, Goddard, Ertz. Knox may be coming back at 4 or 5, by the way. Dawson Knox in Buffalo might be coming back this week.
What about Njoku?
It's just too many tight ends. Too many mouths in Cleveland. Like we can't
really
pinpoint
because he doesn't have a favorite.
If you say Njoku, I'm like, well, you can play Harrison Bryant.
That's true.
Or Austin Hooper. He has more target share of the tight ends there of all of them,
and he ain't catching anything.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch any Cleveland.
If you wanted to touch a pass catcher in Cleveland, I would keep chasing Donovan Peoples-Jones.
He goes deep I played him last week, and he was great for me.
Yeah, he hit the touchdown.
He got the long. He's getting deep play.
Cheap receivers, all you need is one play.
Yes, he's like your Van Jeffersons, your Deshaun Jacksons, your big play guy. Get you Brandon Edwards with the Vikings.
So here's so Dan Arnold, Firemouth, but one of my favorite plays tight end this week is going to be Noah Fant.
Yeah,
and I'm going to tell you why.
Going up against Philly, they're playing
against Philly. So the Chargers last week deployed like a 3-man tight end firepower against Philly last week. Jared Cook had, let me go through them all. I had it. If I went on,
let's see. Jared Cook last week
4 catches, 48 yards, 4 for 4 on his targets.
Yep. So that was 10 points.
That's him. Okay. What's his name? Steven Anderson. I even barely heard of him.
Yeah.
He's got 4 targets, 4 catches, and a touchdown last week against Philly.
And then Parham Jr. had 3 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown, which was 12 points.
So you add them all up. That's 30 fantasy points to the tight end position.
Dang.
For the Chargers. They all had double-digit fantasy points.
That's a good point.
So what if one of and of course I'm playing Jared Cook last week. If he gave me 30 fantasy points last week, I'd have crushed. I mean, I took the 10 at a cheap price. I mean, it was tight end.
Right.
So at 4-3 with no Albert O, I think Noah Fant is in a great spot against Philly. With Bridgewater quarterback. I really like him.
Noah Fant's our favorite this week. Okay. Dawson Knox.
Fant, Arnold, and again, the theme. I think you can even look at Tyler Conklin for Minnesota, man. I know that he's 3-4. Let's look at his game log. Let's look at the last 2 weeks for Mr. Conklin.
Last 2 weeks, 10 points, 9 points, 7
targets in each of these 2 games.
Yeah.
Now you kind of get a decent matchup in the
10
tight end
points.
spot. In
the last 3 weeks, he had 10, and then 9.
Yeah.
So it's not
so
bad.
I guess 3. I said the last 2 weeks. I said last 3 weeks.
He's actually had some solid weeks. It looks like Kirk Cousins is leveraging him because he's not able to get to the wide receivers. So,
so you got so they're in some good spots and some good potential shootouts. And I think that's tight end.
Okay, so our tight ends there. Yep. So let's wrap it up to defense. We're going to do some quick runs on the defensive teams to really consider. Last week was an anomaly. You had a lot of high numbers out of like Cleveland, Jacksonville, teams that you would not have expected whatsoever.
New England got that touchdown.
New England.
Last 2 weeks, I think I said one of them games. I said New England. I think it was last week against Darn. I think it was Carolina. I think
you picked them to score, and they did. Yeah. So they're doing their thing to score.
Yeah.
I am big on defensively. Hear me out here. Hear me out. It's going to be – it's not – I like Seattle this week.
I can understand.
They're not a good defense.
I can understand.
I like them against Green Bay this week. I think there's someone to truly consider. I think Atlanta's defense is someone to consider. Even though at 2-4, I would probably take the Panthers over them because I don't think Arizona – I feel like they caught lightning in a bottle with Colt McCoy winning that game.
Right.
I feel like they caught lightning in a bottle. I don't see them doing that.
Yeah, can the backup do it twice in a row? Once you see because now that
he's old man too.
Now that somebody saw them on film,
people forgot that they had film on Colt McCoy. That's what it was.
Carolina's got a good defense.
They do. They still have a solid defense.
Yeah.
The problem is their offense can't do anything else. So no matter what, the defense is going to give up way more points because they're on the field nonstop.
Right.
But that's the only reason why I haven't considered them as much is because of that. Even at 2-4, they're still with Atlanta. But that Seahawks defense I consider at 2-5. The Titans against New Orleans is a fantastic play. You mentioned that.
That is my favorite. Well, right now, I really think, and it increases if Alvin Kamara doesn't play.
They're number 2 on my list this week.
You look at the last 3 games for the Titans defense.
They've been eating.
And they're still at 2-6.
3 weeks. 17, 12, 16. They've been eating on the points.
And then just look at their stats. Interceptions every week since week 4.
Yep.
You look at the sacks in every single game this week.
They
have games with 4 sacks, 3 sacks, 5 sacks. They've been 3 times they scored touchdowns
on the defensive side. Yeah, that's something to consider with Tennessee. Their defense,
and last week that's against the Rams, allowing 16 points.
Their defense showed up. Jimmy, your favorite co-host on here, who said that was the thing he was concerned about, similar to me. They have shown up and shown out this season. But they're number 2 on my list of the teams I like this week. Yeah. My number 1 team, hands down, Cleveland Browns. They're going against the Patriots. Mac Jones is still a rook.
2-8.
You're not going to be able to scheme against Myles Garrett. He's probably going to eat him alive. And the beauty of it is they're at 2-8. They're still cheap. The Steelers is the number. The Steelers are the number 1 at 41. I hate that price against Detroit because I can see Jared Goff going out there and doing way more than he should.
Yeah. I got the Pats on my list at 3-4. I wrote the Saints down. Tannehill can go out here and not throw for 300 yards any given week, especially with no running game.
Yeah.
Like, even though I kind of like these age, couldn't you see there'd be a defensive struggle and be like 17-13?
Yeah, or less. Yeah.
So my favorite cheapie,
15-10.
Somebody else put me on them, and that was the Vikings. So they've been allowing points, but they allowed 34 against Baltimore. Still had 12 fantasy points.
Yep, because they're getting sacks.
They're getting stuff.
They're getting interceptions.
Yeah, look at the sack log. 3.
Because they lost Danielle Hunter. He's done for the year, right?
Yeah, they have 5. They got 4. They got multiple sacks in games, 2 touchdowns over the year.
With no Danielle Hunter for teams to focus on, they're still able to produce, which is really good. You can't argue.
2,300, and it's not like Herbert is incapable of turning the ball over and throwing interceptions and doing it in bunches because we've seen this up and down from him.
This season
is playing him that low.
Yeah,
and if he has a bad game, then it's the $2,300 defense paired with Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, another one to look at. I would consider that Colts defense against Jacksonville. The Colts front 4 is really good on the defensive side. They can, and it's a divisional game. They're going against Trevor Lawrence, stack them with Jonathan Taylor, as we mentioned on the stacks. That's one to do.
Michael Pittman. We kind of went through that value.
Yeah, and then of course I wouldn't touch the Bills versus the Jets, even though it feels like it's the perfect play. It just feels so expensive.
Yeah,
that Cardinals one.
Hard
the Cardinals at 3-7 though against PJ Walker. I can totally see Chandler Jones and them abusing them in the game. So
somebody throughout the they threw out the Bucks against Washington.
I don't like.
And some people threw out,
Oh well, that's not bad. It's 3-5. That's not.
And then I know that, and it could have been a 1 week lightning in a bottle, but like. Maybe
against Chicago, they scored 21 points. They got you 38-3.
And lastly, because I never liked Jalen Hurts, what if the young players are rallying around Von Miller not being there, and
they did last week.
Yeah,
but
even the week before.
The bad part is they beat Dallas 30. They was up 30-0 against Dallas, and they ended up only scoring 7 fantasy points. And it's mainly because they weren't getting any sacks.
Right.
I don't see them
had a lot of against Washington, getting to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. The question is, can he get to Jalen Hurts?
Over. He'll turn the ball over.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is infamous for being sloppy with the ball, so he's the one to consider too.
But I really like these Titans.
But if you want to, if you don't, I was going to look at. I wanted the Chargers to be a pick. I don't like the Chargers at 2-9.
I've been wanting to play them. I've played them a few times, and when you look at the game log, they just not. They allowing too much running.
If they're 2,000, I take them.
So here's the problem with the Chargers. Because the teams are attacking them so much in the run, it's not presenting an opportunity to get turnovers.
Yeah, because unless you cause them fumbles,
it's all running. There's no
interceptions or deflections,
and it shows in their game log. They haven't had an interception in 4 games. They've gone 3 straight games with no interceptions.
Which I'm trying to figure out why DK hasn't been trying to DraftKings itself hasn't been trying to lure people to take them by putting them at like 2,000 or 2,100.
Because I think they have the talent. Like DraftKings uses all algorithms.
But right, I get the algorithms with it, but even with the algorithm, you shouldn't have the Vikings valued less than what the Chargers are with the numbers that the Vikings are putting up.
True.
They're putting up consistently way more numbers than what the Chargers are, but for some reason they are rated lower than. And I feel like it's a trap. I feel like it's one of those overthinking moments where I should take the Chargers because of their value. There's something that they know. There's something that they're thinking, and then I get burned
because we think they have a good secondary.
Yeah.
Because they are so good against.
I don't want to play it fast. I want to play it loose, and in the end, I'm going to end up getting burnt. So,
and this particular defense, you can play them every week. Is Green Bay still? By the way.
I don't touch Green Bay.
You don't, but outside of last week, I mean, they steady 6, 7, 7, 7, 7, 14.
Yeah, but at 2-9, I don't want. 6,
it's 7, not like 7, stellar, 7. But they have sacks.
I need a random 10.
Aside from the Saints game, they have a sack in every single game this season.
At 2-9, I need some 10s. Like they have Dallas.
Outside, they've only got 2 games with no interceptions. And a sack in every single game except for the first game, the Saints.
Like I got you.
But hey, you can. So when you play defense, you can find a reason to play any defense at the right price.
Yeah,
especially if it's the last thing you plug in. You're like, if they don't get you negative and zeros and stuff like that, hey.